Thanks for joining us. We're just getting started in this. We're totally new, so if we fumble through this, forgive us, please. But what we want to do, do three things. We want to give you practice with your English. We want to help you think through what to do during times of crisis. And we'd like to give you, our third thing we'd like to do, I'll give you a little bit of biblical perspective on it. What God has to do with crisis. Is he involved in this, or is he not involved with it? We'll be asking you some questions to think about. We're going to look at the Bible today. It's one book consisting of 66 smaller books, broken into the Old Testament and in the New Testament. The Old Testament was what came before Jesus. The New Testament is the story of Jesus' life and of the church shortly after Jesus died. Today, Albina will be reading from the Gospel of Mark. The Gospel means the story of Jesus during Jesus' life.
So the Gospel of Mark, chapter 4, verses 35 through 38. On that day, when evening had come, he told them, "Let's cross over to the other side of the sea." So they left the crowd and took him along, since he was already in the boat, and other boats were with him. A fierce windstorm arose, and the waves were breaking over the boat, so that the boat was already being swamped. But he was in the stern, sleeping on the cushion. So they woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care that we're going to die?"
The picture here that you see is an interesting picture. We have Jesus' disciples, or his closest friends. They're taking him across a large lake. It's actually called the Sea of Galilee. And so they're experienced at boating. They've been doing that all their life. They're crossing the sea. There seems like a couple boats together. And as they are going, a storm arises. Great winds arise, and it's tossing the boat back and forth, and water's flooding the boats. And the fishermen, the experienced friends of Jesus, they're starting to get nervous that they might die. So they look to Jesus because they've seen Jesus do many miracles. They've seen him do very many great works. And they look for Jesus on this relatively small boat, and they find him in the back, sleeping on a cushion. It's an interesting thing. Everybody else is worried, and here's Jesus sleeping on the cushion. Why would he be sleeping? And that's the question I'd like to pose to you. Why would Jesus be sleeping? There's, I think, three possibilities that I came up with. One is that he doesn't care what happens. He's indifferent, and he's just going to sleep during this crisis. That's the option that the disciples chose when they came to Jesus and asked, "Don't you care about us?" So that's one possibility. Another possibility is that he cares, but he can't do anything, and he's just trying to sleep through the storm. Or a third option is that he knows that he's more powerful than the storm, that he has authority over the wind and the waves. So today, we'd like you to think about this question, how when you're in times of crisis, be it the coronavirus today or some other personal crisis later, maybe it's your health, maybe it's some finances, and you think about God, do you think he's distant and he can't do anything? Or do you think he's a caring God that can't, or that would like to do something, but again, he can't? Or do you think that God can actually help? So think about that, and we'll continue the story in our next episode.